to Intimate Conversations with T on Food for the Soul Presents, brought to you by A. Baycott Company Productions. And we are here in beautiful downtown Dallas with my guest, Mrs. Jennifer Hobson, and it's Gormer, right?
Yes.
Gormer,
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
And so first, what I want to do is I want to talk about you, Jennifer. I want you to tell us, who is Jennifer? Who are you?
Who am I? I am a woman of God,
Okay.
wife, mother of 3 beautiful children, 19, 18, and 17, believe it or not.
19, 18, and
17. We're
Get out of here. Okay.
We're 1 year from being empty nesters, so we're excited. I'm a 3-time best-selling author. I'm a serial entrepreneur, national speaker, dancer, choreographer, which is my passion. And my purpose is really to serve women and children and to help create and serve as many women and kid CEOs as I possibly can.
Wow. Okay. And so we were talking about, before we started the show, about you really believing in instilling in children at a younger age,
Absolutely.
the entrepreneur spirit.
Yes.
And
Yes,
making
yes, yes.
sure that they're taken care of as they grow.
Absolutely, absolutely. It really came from my mom. I
Okay.
mean, I started my first business at 15, was dancing professionally at 15, teaching at 11, and my mom just firmly believed in making sure I could take care of myself.
Yeah.
And being a baby boomer, she did her research and knew at that time, dancers made an average of $12,000 to $15,000 a year, and she didn't want me to starve. And so she said, okay, we're going to do this thing. Let's do it. But you're going to get behind the camera too. You're going to start your own business so you can take care of yourself.
Right.
So I was 15, 16 and teaching all over the Metroplex and teaching in multiple dance studios, teaching at elementary schools. This is before I was 18, teaching at nonprofits. And so she really just taught me the fundamentals of being an artist, running a business. What is a business? Running a business. How do you run an effective business? And being successsul so I can stand on my own 2 feet and take care of myself.
Wow. Well, kudos to your mom.
Whoop, whoop.
Raise the rip for her. Because there are so many parents. We were talking about how it's just not, we don't learn those things, especially in the African American community.
Absolutely.
We're not taught to be entrepreneurs at a younger age, and I think that would probably help a lot of our youth today, because there's so much more advanced now.
Yes.
So all they need is that little push.
Absolutely.
And we're looking at future CEOs.
That's right.
and different things like that.
Yes. Yes.
At 6 and 7 years old.
Yes.
So I'm looking at these little kindergartners that are on the computer, and they know how to move
Coding.
stuff around. Man,
Yes.
you hear me?
Yes.
That is crazy. Well, this month on our Intimate Conversations and the Gumbo Mix, we're talking about motivation. And so, Jennifer, we're asking our guests how they stay motivated to keep going, or what motivates them or inspires them to keep pressing. So when I was reading a little bit of your story, I know that you have overcome a lot.
I have.
And it is absolutely amazing that you are still here smiling
Yes.
and writing and making business deals and just helping others realize their dreams. So what I wanted to ask, my first question is, what is your story? Like, let's talk about some situations or some life-altering events that changed your whole perspective.
Well, I
on
think
how you view life.
I think it's interesting because I truly was the statistic.
Okay.
I was raised in a single parent home. My father was not there. Single Black woman. Her father was in and out. Wasn't there. So, in all intents and purposes, to the world, I was the statistic.
Okay.
My mother was 23 when she had me. She was single. My father wasn't around. African American. Back in the day, I was initially diagnosed as autistic, and that was before all of this extra, medical terms or research had happened. And so the doctors initially just told my mom, she is way too hyper. Like, this is like a medical problem. Do something. And her do something was she put me in ballet.
Okay.
And it changed my life. And so I truly was that statistic, but I had the mother who went to Catholic school all her life, who was the nerd of the family. She was the successful one, and so I, by nature, became the offspring of that successful one. And so she kind of passed that torch.
Okay.
And so I grew up with a lot of anger and not understanding, where's my father? Why isn't he here? And looking at all the kids who had both parents at home. But I was very smart. I danced all my life, professional dancer at 15, working at 11, straight A student. So being this statistic, overcoming those odds, getting 5 full scholarships. I was graduated from Booker T. Washington High School from the Performing and Visual Arts, and received 5 full scholarships. Became Presidential Scholar in Dance at UT Austin, and immediately like that, my life changed. And I became involved in an abusive relationship, and it turned my world upside down. I don't even know, looking back, as people ask me all the time, I can see now the red signs, the flashing lights, the warnings.
Okay.
But then I didn't know. And so that really turned my life upside down. So going from this bad statistic to this, or this world statistic to this, overcoming that statistic, and then here I am at the prime of my career, and now I'm in this abusive relationship, and I don't know how to get out. And I'm pregnant at 18. Put myself through school. I managed to escape this abusive relationship. Almost lost my life, myself and my son. And you would think at that point, okay, I've survived. I've learned. I've made it. I entered into another abusive relationship, and this time for a 10-year marriage. And so I had to pull myself up by the bootstraps, lean and depend on the Lord, a lot of prayer, a lot of counseling, but by the grace of God, I'm standing. And I will tell you that you can't make a woman leave. You can't. And I minister this as often as I can. You can have a loved one, a family member, a friend who is in an unhealthy or abusive relationship, and you can want them out, and you can want it more for them than they want it for themselves. But until they want it, until they're ready, until they say enough is enough, you have to simply be there to catch them. And so I did. I made that choice one day in October 2009, and I've never looked back. And I'm grateful, but I learned that it was all not for me. It was all for someone else. And so when I got that, that really pushed me forward. And every day that I live, I know there's someone that I'm supposed to meet. There's some woman who needs to hear my story. There's someone who I need to share what I've learned to help them to overcome their abusive situation as well.
Unbelievable story. Do you feel like you were saying about the red flags? Do you feel like any of those could have been avoided? Like, is there,
absolutely,
looking back, what particular signs do you think you saw where you were like, I don't know, first time, and then second time, like, I'm not sure?
Well, I think that we can start early teaching our young ladies what is abuse. Let's just start there, right? Because there's this misconception that if you're not getting punched with the fist, that's not abuse, and that's not the case. The abuse that hurts the worst is the abuse you can't physically see or touch with the hands. And so I think that if we could do some education in teaching our young ladies and our young men early, what is love? Love is an action word. How did God make us? What is His intention for us? How do you respect one another? What is fear? What is control? What is manipulation? And then in safe ways to get out of those situations, then I know for me, if I had been taught those things, those red flags, I would have known they were red flags. Instead of saying, oh, this doesn't feel good, but I'm going to stay. Oh, that hurt, but it won't happen again. If I had that education, if I had that exposure, I know that I would have made choices, different choices. So yeah, I definitely think there's things that had I known, had I been exposed to, and quite honestly, I lived in fear, and a lot of women do. You just live in fear, and you're scared to leave. It makes no sense, but you're scared to leave. You can be scared to leave because you don't think you can make it on your own, that you're so heavily dependent on your abuser, that you simply don't trust God. And for me, I didn't trust God. When He said go, I didn't quite trust that He had me. And so that, I think we also need to deal with the fear and to identify the fear. And again, if I had known truly what fear was, what I was experiencing, why I was so confused, and I certainly would have made different choices. And I know for a fact I wouldn't have been in this situation.
Okay. Do you watch Greenleaf at all?
No,
you don't watch
don't.
Greenleaf?
Mm-mm.
Okay, well, Greenleaf is a show that's produced by Oprah Winfrey, and it's
Okay.
on her network. But there is a storyline about a young girl who is in an abusive relationship.
Really?
Her father is a minister. Her grandfather is her father's a pastor, and her grandfather is also a pastor. And it's funny because she's staying. We don't know why she's staying. I'm sure they're going to reveal that. But what would you say then to a parent who actually has a child in that type of relationship? Because in the show you see that the father beat him up. I think before the season finale, he beat him so bad, and then the girl went back.
Yeah.
She went back.
She went back.
She went back.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, what are we missing? You
Yeah.
see that your father is so against this relationship. You know how it makes you feel.
Yeah.
Why do young girls stay? Do you think it's the same thing? The
Well, there's a
fear of-
syndrome. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, there is an abusive woman syndrome.
Okay.
And I don't even want to say it's woman's. There is an abuse syndrome, and you're stuck.
Okay.
And there needs to be work, absolutely. But what I would say to parents, and I think my perspective is a little bit different, because when I finally said enough was enough, and when I finally said no, it wasn't that I got fed up with my own abuse, with the abuse I was receiving. I got fed up because my son looked at me and said he was being abused, and that was enough.
Okay.
See, that was my line in the sand.
Okay.
It's different for every woman, okay? And so if I was speaking to a parent, because I've been there, I've walked that life, and your child's being abused, my recommendation, or what I would tell this parent, is look at your child. You have a responsibility to protect them. Even if you don't protect yourself, you have a responsibility. And for me, that was my move. That was my push. Kids especially, their brains aren't like our brains. And so manipulation and control can take over a kid. And so they're really relying on their parents, their loved ones, their family members, to love and protect them and shield them. And sometimes we just have to do what we have to do. And get them counseling. They need counseling. Counseling alone won't work, and that's a whole different story, but they definitely need counseling.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, you guys, stay tuned. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. And we're back. In case you're just tuning in, you're watching Intimate Conversations with T, brought to you by Food for the Soul Presents and a Baycott Company Productions. And we are here with the lovely, inspiring Jennifer Hobson-Gormer. And I keep saying that really.
You
I
actually
keep
have it
pronouncing
right.
that
Most people
real
can't
hard.
say,
I'm
Gormer's it.
Gormer. Not Gomer, Gormer, because I'm
Gormer.
having to pronounce that R.
Yes.
But we were talking about abuse before
Yes.
we left. And so with that, I wanted to talk about how important is it for women, girls, to have powerful women in their lives? How important, or to have a mentor or someone
Yes.
who is kind of holding them accountable, so to speak. How important do you think that is? I mean, like on a scale of 1 to 10.
Like 11?
Okay.
It's
I do too. I believe
yeah,
that. I
it
believe
is.
that.
For me, as a dancer, my life changed when I saw dancers who looked like me, when I saw dancers who moved like me, when I saw dancers who were built like me. I went 7 years in my career from 2 to 9, 7 years, and I didn't see other dancers like me. I didn't have mentors like me, but the moment my mother took me and I was able to see people who looked and talked and acted like it, was built like me, and then they became mentors of mine, my world changed.
Okay.
And so I think not only as a mother of a daughter, but a mother of sons, it's so important. They need to see the shoulders that they stand on. They need to see someone walking it before they walk it. They need to see it exemplified. They need to see, yes, we fall down, yes, we make mistakes, but we get right back on up. And how does that look? You know, and how do you not look like what you're going through? So yeah, I think that's crucial. Absolutely.
And this is not even one of my questions, but so in feeling that way, why do you think there are not more women who are out there who are trying to mentor other women that are younger than them, or that are not in their generation? Because I mean, we all feel like it's important, but why are they not reaching out, especially in the church? It seems like it's very different, and it seems like it should be different in the church.
It feels like it should be opposite.
Right.
Yeah. I think honestly it's that there's a preconception or an incorrect assumption that you have to have it all together to be a mentor.
Okay.
And you don't.
Okay.
To be an example, you don't. In fact, the beauty is taking them by the hand and bringing them with you as you walk. And I think that's primarily the issue is you don't have to have it perfectly together. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have everything perfect in your life. In fact, there's no perfect, right? But I think as well, if we haven't had mentors ourselves, then how do we know how to be mentors?
Okay.
You know, so it's almost like a woman who her mother wasn't around and she becomes a mom. What does she has as reference in being a mom, right? And so my encouragement has always been, and maybe just because I've been a mentor for many years in my life, it's just go. Yeah. Teach what you can teach, share the lessons that you know, and on the lessons you have to walk and learn together, and you both grow at the same time.
And don't be afraid to be vulnerable
and transparent
with your mentee.
Yes.
Because that's basically, you're saying that if I don't have it all together and I'm mentoring someone and I'm going through a struggle, I'm afraid to share that with this mentee, because then they're going to look at me differently. They're like, you're supposed to have it all together, you know, and you don't. So now, and so
and
that's
they need to see that we don't have it together, and they're not going to always have it together,
right?
And this is life. Part of life is you fall down,
right?
But it's how you get back up.
Yes,
that's it. Yeah,
absolutely. I agree 100%. That makes a lot of sense. And so I saw that your name just changed, which means that you just recently got married. And so I wanted to ask, how different has that been with your career, your family? How have you been able to balance that now that you're
great
where
question.
You are now?
You know, the balance is a work in progress.
Okay.
You know, it's funny because you can speak about it, you can mentor, you can share all day long, but it's literally an everyday walk and practice to perfection. You don't actually get it perfected, but you can get better at it. I'll tell you, you know, my life tremendously changed. You know, there was a time in my life where I never thought that I would ever be in a relationship. I never thought that I could be loved. I just thought that was not for me. Having been through just so much hurt, I didn't think that was for me. Trust was hard. Trust was very hard, especially being a single mom. You got to keep your kids in their rightful position and teach and raise them and do things decent and in order. My career has blossomed 100%. To have that support, to have that best friend, to have that person that's got you, and to walk this journey of parenthood and spouse and friend and husband and wife, it's just amazing. So it's been great. It's been great.
But the balance with you and your career, being that you probably you took off. Of course, you started your career back in the day, and now your career is booming. And to bring somebody else in, how do you effectively balance that?
I can give you some things.
And that's something that I am trying to learn. I'm trying to learn, because you want to be out there and you want to say, you know what God has for me is for me. So I want to go out there apart from my husband. But sometimes it's hard to say, okay, well, this is my time.
Right.
This is his time. This
Right.
is my time. This
Right.
is his time.
Yeah.
'Cause
And where's our time?
Yeah. They
Yeah.
kind of just kind of go
Exactly.
together, and you're like, sorry.
Yeah.
So
Well, I will tell you what we do
Okay.
really well
Mhm.
is we take a time out. Like
Okay.
we take just us time. Like
Okay.
our kids know. Like they'll see us come out the room. They're like, y'all going away for the weekend. Okay, bye. See you when you get back, you know?
Yes.
I mean, in a heartbeat, we don't even second guess it. We're out.
Okay.
Because we've learned that, hey, and we know when our stresses get high or when it gets hectic, hey, we need time. We
Yeah.
need to decompress. We shut down laptops. And my husband is really my opposite. So he evens me out. My father says that my spiritual dad, he says that I'm the kite and I'm just kind of all over the place. And my husband, wheels me back in.
Reels you right
And
back in.
so
Okay.
he's really my grounding because when I'm overdoing it or when I need to refocus on the family or when, sometimes you need to hear, but the clients are still going to be there on Monday, shut the laptop.
Yes.
What God has planned for you is already going to be there. Shut
Yes.
the laptop. So that's how I balance is
Okay.
one, I keep him and God in the rightful place.
Okay.
I don't miss serving at church. I don't miss church. I don't miss worship. I don't miss talking to him, praying with him. I don't miss teaching my kids. I don't take him out of his position. When my husband says it's time, okay, where are we going?
It's time.
My kids as well. But that's really, I think, for us is what's helped us.
Okay.
And having married couples around you
Yes.
who've been married longer than you, who've walked this walk, and who are dedicated to their marriage helps so much.
So much because they're
It
gonna
helps
they're gonna
so
because they're gonna
much.
tell you too. Jennifer, sit down.
Yes.
Sit down somewhere.
Sit down someplace.
Sit down somewhere. Go home and cook that
Yes,
man something to eat,
yes.
please. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. You
So-
tripping, Jen? Oh,
Yeah.
I am. Okay, I love y'all.
Let me go home and fix it.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I get that, and that's something that my husband and I, we try to do that. We try to have a date time. So that's that time you're talking about where you kind of decompress and you trying to shut out everything else
have
that's
to.
going on
Yeah.
in the world. And
You have
sometimes
to.
it's difficult.
It is difficult, but
yeah.
I find that I'm just refreshed afterwards.
Yes.
I have a totally new perspective afterwards, and so oftentimes I'm like, thank you, babe, thank you for making me do that.
Yeah.
It may have been hard to get me to do it, but afterwards I'm like,
once
thank you.
yeah. Absolutely. Well, my last question for you is I want to talk about your books.
Yes.
I want to talk about how we can purchase them.
Absolutely.
And then I want you to leave us with some words of encouragement for those who need to feel motivated to keep going, to keep going.
Absolutely.
Because your whole story is motivation to just keep going. So first I want to talk about your books
Okay.
and then leave us with those words.
Sure.
Okay.
So I am blessed to be a 3-time best-selling author.
Okay.
I started publishing actually as a professor because we have to write. But I was in a book called Shift On.
Okay.
And I was published by Nikki Woods Media, so Tom Joyner's former executive producer.
Okay.
So the second book, Soul Talk, and that both of those books are Christian books. They share stories of Christian women telling their testimonies, how they've overcome situations dependent on God, overcome trials and tribulations, walked in their purpose. So just really phenomenal books, all motivation, all encouragement. Lovely books. I also wrote a book called Surviving Abuse God's Way, and it's a 30-day devotional near and dear to my heart. And when I left my abusive marriage, I didn't have anything. I was grasping for something I could touch.
Right.
I could touch my Bible. Yes, I could go to church and I spent a lot of time there and I studied and I learned and I prayed, but I also wanted something that I could touch, that I could write, where I could kind of work my way through my feelings of what,
Right.
hurt and pain and anger and guilt and shame. And so I realized a couple years ago, if I needed that, there's some other women who need it as well. So I wrote this devotional, 30-day devotional, and all of my books are available on Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com. So that's been a true blessing. And then my fourth book is Kid CEO. So that one I'm really excited about.
Kid CEO.
Kid CEO. We published it October last year, 2017, and in 2 hours we went Amazon bestseller.
Gosh.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Okay, so maybe there are some parents out there who are trying to teach their kids how to be
absolutely.
CEOs. Okay.
And that's why I wrote the book, quite honestly, because my daughter started her business at 11.
Okay.
And we had so many people asking us, how is she doing this? And how are you running a business? And she's running a business. And y'all are like, how, and I couldn't help everybody. And so really I got to a place of frustration, like, all these people need help, and God, I don't have all the time to help everybody. And the kids were coming to my daughter like, how are you running your own business? So we decided to write Kid CEO, and I wanted to share stories of kids like my daughter. She's in the book as well. Kids who have started their own business, running their own business, making their own money. This is not parents running the business. These are kids
running their own
who are
business.
running their own business. So that other kids who want to start, don't know how to start, don't have the tools, never seen it, but they know they want to do it. They can hear and learn from other kids who were doing it.
Okay.
And then to make it even better, I wanted the parents behind those kids to speak to the parents of those other kids.
Right.
Yeah. And say, hey, this is what it takes. This is how you support them, not do it for them.
Right.
But this is what it looks like. This is the dedication. And so we're actually working on
awesome.
Yeah, we're super excited. We're working on Kid CEO 2.
Okay.
So that's coming up. That'll be published in the spring of 2019. So excited about that. All of my books can be found Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com.
Amazon.com, BarnesandNobles.com.
Yes. And then they can also go to my website. So Jennifer J. Hobson-Gormer.com. Jennifer J. Hobson-Gormer.com. And they can buy the books.
Amazing. Well, we want to thank you so much for being on our show.
Thank you.
We pray blessings on you and your career.
In Jesus'
oh my
name.
goodness.
Thank you.
And I was so excited to be able to connect you with the Black Women's Expo.
I will be on their panel
and so
on Sunday.
that means that I'm going to get a chance to see you again
Yes.
on Sunday, because we'll be there.
Awesome.
We'll be there covering as media, so I'm excited about that too. But let us know your social media tags before we leave.
Absolutely.
So we can follow you.
Thank you. So LinkedIn, Jennifer Gormer. Facebook, Jennifer Gormer.
Okay.
Twitter and Instagram, Idea, 2, Profit.
Idea, 2, Profit.
Yes.
And you said on
LinkedIn,
LinkedIn
and Facebook,
Jennifer
Gormer.
GORMER.
MER.
Yes. I'm going to keep on just really emphasizing that. Well, that's it for tonight. Thank you guys for tuning in to Food for the Soul presents Intimate Conversations with T. Stay tuned in next week for Food for the Soul presents the Gumbo Mix live on FB at 8 p.m. when me and my girl Michelle and our special guest this month, Mrs. Michi Burnett, will be back at it, giving you the latest on motivating yourself to do something different with Get Up, Get Out, and Get Something. What's your motivation? And don't forget to subscribe to our channel at Food for the Soul Presents and follow us on all of our social media handles at Food for the Soul Presents. And remember, tears are words that need to be written. So share or write your story because somebody may need to hear it.
Absolutely.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you so
My
much.
whole life seems like I've been searching. Always coming up short, much less than perfect. But everything I need is all inside me. Before you walk, you gotta crawl. Now